Hey everyone, today we're going to be doing some more WordPress theming, and in this video we're going to be talking about how to add an admin page to the admin area for your theme. Now you may have seen this with different plugins where you get something under your settings that has settings specifically for that plugin and nothing else. We're actually going to be adding it to our appearance here, and let me show you how to do that. You want to start with your functions.php file, which I already have open here. And I'm just going to put this at the end of the file. This is basically going to have another page within itself. Once we get this page working, I'm going to talk about how to save options on that page to WordPress options, so that you can access them at any point. So for starters, we want to add an action. Now this is one of the functions that sets WordPress apart as being really modular and useful in the sense of being customizable. What it does is, it says whenever something is done in WordPress, do this. Now the example we'll be using here, and I'm actually going to be pulling from a previous theme, is we want to add the action of admin menu. This first argument, there's a list of them on the WordPress codex. This first argument says whenever the admin menu is created, we want this to be done. Now this is the second argument, which is a function. I'm going to call it, I'm not going to delete everything, I'm going to call it theme page add. That's all we have to do. Now I'm going to make the function called theme page add. Now we're actually going to add another thing in here that's a very important feature in WordPress. I'm going to take a function that's called add submenu page. This is a very useful function, but it takes a minute to explain. For starters, you can add like actual menu pages, which are things like this, where it says settings and tools, but a submenu page would be something like writing, reading, discussion, and subpages like that. We want to add our theme options page under appearance. So the first argument in this function is the page that we want to have it as a subpage of. Now if you notice, when it says appearance, we have down at the bottom themes.php as the path to it. So that is our first argument. The second argument is the what is displayed as the title of the page up in the top of the browser. And the third argument is what's displayed as the title of the page on the sidebar. So once we get this working, theme options will appear under appearance. This is the user level that the user has to have in order to access the page. I set it to 8. That means administrators of the site only. Again, this is something you can look up at the WordPress codex, because they do have a few different user levels, although some of them are rather obsolete. Now, the next argument, sorry, I just got interrupted. The next argument is the slug that the page is going to get. So for example, when we get it, we're going to have themes.php page equals, and it's going to have theme options. Remember, this has to be URL encoded, so just leave it as letters. Don't add anything special. And then this is the function that's going to hold the entire page. The function is theme page options. So let's just write that function right now. Page options. Now, if we load it up, in theory, we should have a blank page under our appearance area. And we do. Click on that, and absolutely nothing will happen. Well, that's because it's a blank function. So I'm just going to drop in some code here. Okay, the code I've added is a basic HTML form that has an action, a box with a text box, and a sidebar checkbox. Now the two things I'm going to show you how to customize in your theme are just examples. You can customize pretty much anything, but the two things I'm going to show you how to change is whether or not to have a second sidebar, which in reality is only one thing for us, and how to edit this text at the bottom. Again, you can do a lot more with it than just that, but I just want to show you something simple for now. So now if you type something into your theme page right here, you can type anything you want, but it's not going to save it, because it doesn't have anything to save it to. Now, what we want to do in order to make WordPress save our information is create what's called an option. Options are stored in a table called WP options, or whatever you put as your prefix, options. there's a lot of things in here. Mainly just things that your site needs in order to function, such as your blog name, your blog description, things like that. And it even has things like your sidebar widgets. So what we want to do is add a new option. Now don't worry, you don't have to work with a database in this case. WordPress provides a very easy way of doing it. We want to do a function called add option. This takes technically 4 arguments, but I'm only going to talk about 2. So we want to add an option to our theme. The first argument is what we want to give the option as a name. Now if you remember when we were in our phpMyAdmin, that every option has a name. I'm just going to call this my theme options, or tutorial theme options. Now in reality you want to give a much more specific name than that, because any theme could have a name. Basically you can only have one option for each name. So you want to be careful about naming. Make it something specific, make it something hard, make it random so that another theme will not have it. And the next argument is what we want to actually put in the option. Now I'm going to just put all of the information I need into an array. You can add multiple options, you can add as many as you want, but just remember that each option you add increases the number of database queries that WordPress has to do. So if you want your site to run slow, that's fine, but I prefer to just keep it all in one. So I'm just going to put it in an array and end the function. Now I'm just going to copy this over from my other page. The 2 names I'm going to give to these options is sidebar to on, and that has a default value of true, and footer text is made by Daxter Speed. I added a 2 at the end just to show that it's different from the original. Let's just put an exclamation mark. Now if we run this, it'll work. We will be able to access that option given the proper code. However, this will run every time we load up this functions page, and we don't want that because then we'll get a lot of the same option. So we're going to use a function to see if the option already exists. If we can get the option, which is tutorial theme options, that only takes 1 argument. So if we can get that option, I'm actually going to set this as a variable, as theme options equals the value of get option. And as you recall in PHP, anything that has a value will return true in its function. Else, if that does not exist, then we want to add this option, but only then. So now that will run, and it'll add the option the first time. However, it will not add it the second time or anything else. And to prove it, I'll even add that. And let's just, I'll just leave it at that. So if we run that now, basically I'll have to take my word for it, because we don't have any way of actually accessing the output of that function other than checking it with phpMyAdmin. And yeah, sure, let's do it. Okay, no errors, that's promising. And if we reload this and scroll down to the end, you can see we have a tutorial theme options. Now I'm not going to try and edit that because that'll probably mess something up. And you can edit it just as easily in your WordPress theme. So let's go back to our oh no, we were already in functions.php. So pay attention to the fact that we declared the variable theme options up here as the value of get option. So now if we're down here, let's start at least by echoing out the option value. So we stored it in an array, so instead of just getting the function get option, I'm going to type echo theme options, and I'm going to call it footer text. Well, not call it, but that's the value in the array that I want. Now if we reload that, it should have the text that we put in the footer as a default. And it didn't, because we forgot to make that a global variable. I forget if I talked about this in my basic PHP tutorial, but since we're in a function, we can't access that variable unless we declare it as a global, just to say that this variable comes from outside the function. Now if we reload that, now we get the text that is in the bottom with the exclamation point, which we declared before.